What if everything you believe about career success has been leading you away from the very fulfillment you seek? There's a quiet truth about professional transformation that most people never discover because they're listening to the wrong voices. The voices of urgency, competition, and external validation. In the next few moments, I want to share something that might shift how you see your career forever. Not through force, but through understanding. It's not about working harder or climbing faster. It's about something much more profound. The power of 5 minutes of morning stillness. The people who experience true career fulfillment understand something remarkable about professional growth. It's not what you think, and by the end of this journey together, you'll see why those 5 quiet minutes each morning might hold more transformative power than years of striving. What if the very thing keeping you from career satisfaction isn't what you lack, but what you're chasing? Let me share a perspective that might feel uncomfortable at first, then liberating. It begins with understanding that true professional success isn't built in boardrooms or networking events. It's cultivated in the silence of your own awareness. Let me explain what I mean. Let me begin with something we've all experienced, that quiet sense of disconnection between who we are and what we do for 8 hours each day. It's subtle at first, a gentle nagging that something isn't quite right, a feeling that we're playing a role rather than living our truth. Have you noticed how most Monday mornings feel like stepping into someone else's life? There's something profound happening in these moments, something most of us miss because we're focused on deadlines, meetings, and the endless pursuit of the next promotion, the next achievement, the next level of external validation. Here's what I've observed across thousands of conversations with professionals at every level. Most of us have been taught to believe that career success means climbing the traditional ladder, accumulating titles, and proving our worth through constant productivity. We think that working longer hours, networking harder, and pushing through exhaustion will lead us to professional fulfillment. But what if this approach is like a tree sending its roots in every direction except toward water? The harder it tries, the more energy it expends, yet it remains perpetually thirsty because it's searching in all the wrong places. Let me paint a picture that might feel familiar. You wake each morning with good intentions. Maybe you grab your coffee, scan your emails while still in bed, and mentally rehearse the day's demands. You tell yourself that once you get through this project, this quarter, this year, then you'll have time to figure out what you really want. You notice moments of excitement about certain tasks, but they're quickly buried under the weight of what you should be doing. By evening, you're exhausted not just from work, but from the constant inner tension between who you are and who you think you need to be professionally. You lie in bed wondering if this is all there is, if this disconnection is simply the price of being a responsible adult. This isn't anyone's fault. We live in a culture that equates busyness with importance, that measures worth through external metrics, and that has convinced us that career satisfaction is a luxury rather than a birthright. We've been taught to override our inner wisdom in favor of conventional advice, to silence our intuition in favor of industry standards. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. While we're frantically trying to succeed according to other people's definitions, we're missing the quiet signals from our own inner compass. We're so busy becoming who we think we should be that we never pause to discover who we actually are. The real invitation isn't to work harder or smarter, it's to work from a place of deeper alignment. Until we see this clearly, we remain like a river trying to flow uphill, expending tremendous energy while moving against our natural currents. Consider these questions, not to judge yourself, but to simply notice. How often do you find yourself going through the motions at work, competent but uninspired? When did you first learn that your dreams needed to be practical rather than authentic? What would it feel like if your Monday mornings filled you with quiet anticipation rather than dread? This pattern affects nearly 85% of professionals, not because we're broken or uncommitted, but because we're human beings trying to thrive in systems that often ignore our humanity. But what if there's another way? What if career transformation doesn't require dramatic changes or risky leaps, but simply 5 minutes of morning stillness that allows you to remember who you are beneath all the noise? Before we explore this path together, let me share what changed everything for me. There was a moment in my journey when I realized something that changed everything. True career satisfaction isn't something you achieve, it's something you align with. It was already there, waiting beneath the layers of other people's expectations and my own misconceptions about success. Let me share what led to this understanding. I was 3 years into what everyone considered a dream job: good salary, respected company, clear advancement path. Yet every morning felt like putting on an elaborate costume. I was successful by every external measure, but internally I felt like I was suffocating in slow motion. The breaking point came during a particularly hectic week when I found myself crying in my car before walking into the office, not from sadness, but from the sheer exhaustion of being someone I wasn't. That evening, desperate for some kind of relief, I decided to try something my grandmother had always done: sitting quietly for a few minutes before starting the day. No agenda, no meditation app, just stillness. What happened in those 5 minutes surprised me. In the silence, I could hear something I'd been drowning out for years: my own voice, gentle but clear, saying, "This isn't your path." Not with judgment or criticism, but with the loving firmness of truth. This experience taught me something profound about career fulfillment. It's not about finding the perfect job, but about bringing your authentic self to whatever work you do. The transformation happens not in changing everything external, but in aligning your inner truth with your outer expression. Think of it like this: a river doesn't struggle to find its path to the ocean. It simply follows its natural inclination, moving around obstacles, carving new channels when necessary, but always flowing toward its destination with quiet certainty. The river doesn't question whether it's flowing correctly or compare its path to other rivers. It trusts its inner current and allows that trust to guide its movement. Your career journey, when aligned with your authentic nature, follows a similar principle of natural flow rather than forced navigation. What I discovered is that career satisfaction isn't about finding the one perfect job, but about bringing consciousness and authenticity to whatever work you're called to do. While most of us are trying to fit ourselves into predetermined boxes, true fulfillment comes from understanding your unique contribution and allowing it to express itself naturally. This is why the wisest professionals throughout history understood that work, at its best, is an expression of who you are, not a mask you wear. They knew that when you align with your authentic nature, opportunities arise organically, relationships deepen naturally, and success feels effortless because you're flowing with your natural current rather than against it. When you align with this understanding, something beautiful begins to unfold. Your work becomes a reflection of your deepest values rather than a betrayal of them. Now, you might be wondering how this wisdom translates into daily life. Let me show you. Here's the understanding that transforms everything. Career fulfillment isn't found in the perfect position, but in the perfect alignment between who you are and how you show up in the world. It's not about changing everything external, but about bringing consciousness to whatever you're already doing. Let me tell you about Sarah, a marketing executive who embodied this principle in a way that completely shifted my understanding. Sarah had spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder, accumulating impressive titles and salary increases, yet feeling increasingly disconnected from her work. Instead of jumping ship or making dramatic changes, she began each day with 5 minutes of quiet reflection. Not planning or problem solving, just listening. In those quiet moments, she started noticing things she'd missed for years. She realized that her favorite part of every project wasn't the strategy or execution, but the moments when she helped team members discover their own strengths. She noticed that her most energizing meetings were the ones where she was mentoring junior colleagues. Gradually, she began bringing more of this natural gift into her existing role. She volunteered to lead development programs, started informal coaching sessions, and found ways to weave mentorship into her daily responsibilities. The remarkable thing wasn't that she changed jobs, she didn't. The remarkable thing was that her job began changing around her authentic expression. Within 18 months, her company created a new position for her, Director of Talent Development. She hadn't forced this change or manipulated circumstances, she had simply allowed her authentic gifts to be seen and valued. This story reveals something powerful. When you align with your authentic nature, the external world begins to reorganize itself around your truth. You see, what most people don't realize is that career satisfaction isn't a destination you arrive at, but a quality of presence you bring to your work. They believe that finding the right opportunity will create fulfillment. But this is like a musician believing that the perfect venue will make them a better artist. The venue doesn't create the music transforms the venue. Here's the profound truth. Your career is not something that happens to you, but something that flows through you when you're aligned with your authentic nature. Consider this metaphor. A seed doesn't become anxious about whether the soil is perfect or the weather ideal. It simply begins to grow according to its nature, sending roots downward and shoots upward, adapting to conditions while remaining true to its essential blueprint. As it grows authentically, it naturally creates the conditions for its own thriving, attracting the right nutrients, creating shade for other plants, contributing to the ecosystem in ways that support its continued growth. Your career, when aligned with your authentic nature, follows this same pattern of organic development and mutual support. This is why those who truly master career fulfillment approach it differently. They understand that satisfaction comes not from external validation, but from internal alignment. While others are frantically networking and optimizing their LinkedIn profiles, they practice deep listening to their own wisdom and allowing that wisdom to guide their professional choices. But here's what's beautiful about this understanding. When you stop trying to force your career into predetermined shapes and instead allow it to emerge from your authentic nature, three things naturally occur. First, your work becomes energizing rather than draining because you're operating from your natural strengths and interests. Second, opportunities begin appearing organically because you're no longer broadcasting desperation or trying to be someone you're not. You're simply being authentically valuable. Third, your professional relationships deepen because people sense and respond to authenticity in ways they rarely respond to performance. Let me share an example of how this looks in practice. David was an accountant who discovered through morning reflection that his deepest satisfaction came not from numbers, but from helping small business owners understand their financial story. Instead of leaving accounting, he began approaching his existing clients differently, spending more time explaining financial patterns and less time simply delivering reports. His clients began referring him to other small businesses specifically because of this consultative approach. Eventually, he was able to specialize entirely in small business financial consulting, earning more money while working fewer hours because he was operating from his zone of authentic contribution. This isn't about forcing change. This is about creating space for your authentic nature to emerge and express itself through your work. But there's something even deeper here. The people who experience true career fulfillment have learned something that might surprise you. They've stopped trying to separate who they are from what they do. They understand that work, at its best, is simply another arena for expressing your authentic gifts and values. Here's why this works on such a profound level. When you're aligned with your authentic nature, you stop wasting energy on internal conflict. Instead of spending mental and emotional resources trying to be someone you're not, you can direct all that energy toward creating value in ways that feel natural and sustainable. Now that you understand the deeper principle, let me guide you through how to live this understanding. Now, let me guide you through how to cultivate career alignment in your daily life. This isn't a system to force results, but a way of being that allows authentic professional fulfillment to emerge naturally, like dawn gradually illuminating the landscape. These aren't rules to follow, but invitations to explore. Pay attention to what resonates, because true transformation comes from inner alignment, not external pressure. The 5-minute morning practice is simply the doorway. What matters is the consciousness you bring to your entire professional life. The 4 foundations of career alignment. Foundation 1. Inner awareness. The first invitation is to cultivate deep listening to your authentic professional nature. This isn't about analyzing or strategizing, but about creating space to hear your inner wisdom about work and contribution. Here's how to begin. Set aside 5 minutes each morning before checking emails or planning your day. Sit quietly and ask yourself one gentle question. How do I want to feel about my work today? Don't rush to answer or analyze the response. Simply listen with curiosity to whatever arises. This practice is like allowing muddy water to settle in a clear glass. When you stop stirring with constant thinking and planning, your natural clarity begins to emerge. When you create this space consistently, you begin to notice patterns, certain types of tasks that energize you, interactions that feel most authentic, moments when you feel most aligned with your values. Most people skip this foundation because it feels unproductive compared to immediate action, but this is where all lasting career transformation begins. You cannot align with your authentic nature if you don't first take time to discover what that nature actually is. Here's a simple way to deepen this practice. After your 5 minutes of listening, write down one word that captures how you want to feel about your work that day. Don't explain or elaborate, just one word. Over time, these words will reveal patterns about your authentic professional desires. What to notice? You'll begin experiencing subtle shifts in how you approach your work. Tasks that once felt like obligations may start feeling like opportunities for expression. You might find yourself naturally gravitating toward projects that align with your authentic gifts. Remember, this isn't about immediate dramatic change, but about developing a relationship with your inner wisdom that can guide your professional choices over time. Example: Maria, a project manager, discovered through this practice that her word was consistently connected. This led her to realize that her dissatisfaction came not from her role, but from working in isolation. She began seeking more collaborative projects and found her job satisfaction increase dramatically. Foundation 2. Aligned action. Once you've cultivated inner awareness, the next invitation is to bring that consciousness into your daily work choices. This isn't about forcing yourself to quit your job or make dramatic changes, but about finding small ways to align your authentic nature with your current responsibilities. Here's the contemplative practice. Throughout your workday, pause before major tasks or decisions and ask, how can I bring more of my authentic self to this situation? Then listen for gentle guidance about how to approach the task in a way that honors both your professional responsibilities and your authentic nature. You'll know you're aligned when work begins feeling more like self-expression and less like self-sacrifice, when you notice energy and enthusiasm emerging naturally rather than forcing motivation through willpower alone. This might look like choosing to have face-to-face conversations instead of emails if connection is your authentic gift, volunteering for projects that utilize your natural strengths, or approaching routine tasks with curiosity about how to bring creativity or excellence to them. Gentle reminder: the goal isn't to love every aspect of your job, but to find authentic ways to contribute value through whatever work you're doing. Even mundane tasks can become expressions of your authentic nature when approached with consciousness. You might notice internal resistance or fear about expressing more authenticity at work. This is natural. We've been trained to separate our professional self from our real self. Be patient with this process. Small, consistent expressions of authenticity are more sustainable than dramatic gestures. Wisdom in practice. James, an IT specialist, realized his authentic gift was teaching complex concepts simply. Instead of just fixing technical problems, he began explaining solutions in ways that helped colleagues understand the underlying issues. This small shift led to him becoming the go-to person for training new team members, which eventually became his official role as technical training coordinator. Foundation 3. Patient cultivation. This foundation separates those who create lasting career fulfillment from those who experience temporary enthusiasm followed by disappointment. Career alignment, like all authentic transformation, unfolds in organic timing that cannot be forced or rushed. Most people approach career change like flipping a light switch. They want immediate, dramatic transformation. But true professional alignment is more like tending a garden. You plant seeds of authentic expression, water them with consistent practice, and trust that growth will happen in its natural timing. Here's how to practice this. When you feel impatient for external changes or frustrated that your career isn't transforming fast enough, return to your morning practice. Remind yourself that authentic change happens from the inside out, not the outside in. Your job is to consistently align with your authentic nature and trust that external circumstances will reorganize themselves around your truth. The key is understanding that career fulfillment is not a destination you reach, but a quality of presence you cultivate. Without this understanding, you'll constantly be seeking the next external change to create internal satisfaction, which keeps you trapped in the cycle of temporary excitement followed by inevitable disappointment. Deep practice. When you notice yourself becoming impatient or frustrated with your career progress, try this contemplative exercise. Imagine your authentic professional self 5 years from now. Don't focus on titles or external circumstances, but on the quality of presence this future self brings to work. What does aligned professional expression feel like in your body? How does this version of you approach challenges and opportunities? Allow this vision to guide your present choices without attachment to specific timelines. You'll know this foundation is developing when you begin experiencing career challenges as opportunities for growth rather than evidence that you're on the wrong path. When you can maintain inner alignment even when external circumstances haven't yet shifted to match your authentic nature. Foundation 4. Natural expression. Finally, this is about allowing your authentic professional gifts to express themselves naturally through your work, regardless of your official job description. This isn't about dramatic performance or trying to prove your worth, but about letting your natural talents and values shine through your professional interactions. When you truly embody your authentic professional nature, it naturally influences everything. How you communicate in meetings, the perspective you bring to problem solving, the way you support colleagues, and the quality of attention you bring to your tasks.
Here's the practice. Instead of trying to fit yourself into your job description, bring your whole authentic self to your work and notice how your role begins expanding to accommodate your natural gifts. Trust that when you're operating from authenticity, you naturally create value in ways that will be recognized and appreciated. This might manifest as naturally becoming the person others come to for specific types of support, finding yourself invited into projects that align with your gifts, or discovering that your authentic approach to work creates results that your previous effortful approach never achieved. You'll notice that work begins feeling less like something you do and more like something you are, an expression of your values, gifts, and natural way of contributing to the world. Wisdom reminder: authentic expression isn't about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about bringing honest presence and genuine care to whatever work you're doing. Some days this will feel effortless, other days it will require conscious choice. Both are part of the natural rhythm of aligned professional life. Weaving it together. These foundations work together like the elements in a forest ecosystem, each supporting and nourishing the others. When you practice consistent inner awareness, aligned action, patient cultivation, and natural expression, career fulfillment emerges as naturally as a river finding its way to the ocean. Timeline. This isn't about forcing change within a specific time frame, but about trusting that consistent alignment with your authentic nature will create the right opportunities at the right time. Some shifts happen within weeks, others unfold over years. Trust the process. The beauty of this approach is that you don't have to wait for external circumstances to change before experiencing career satisfaction. Fulfillment begins the moment you start bringing your authentic self to whatever work you're already doing. As we near the end of our time together, I want to address some thoughts that might be arising as you consider this path of career alignment through morning reflection. Gentle Concern 1. This feels too simple compared to traditional career advice. I understand this feeling completely. In a culture that celebrates complex strategies and aggressive networking, this gentle approach might feel almost naive. You might be thinking, how can 5 minutes of quiet reflection compete with MBA programs and industry connections? But consider this. A seed doesn't need to understand soil chemistry or weather patterns to grow. It simply needs to be planted in fertile ground and given consistent care. Your authentic nature is like that seed, containing everything necessary for your professional fulfillment. The morning reflection isn't the solution itself, it's the fertile ground that allows your natural career path to emerge. The most profound transformations in nature happen slowly and from the inside out. A tree doesn't struggle to grow, it simply follows its natural inclination toward light. Your career deserves the same organic respect. Gentle Concern 2. I've tried mindfulness and reflection before without dramatic results. Your past experiences matter, and I honor whatever you've already explored in seeking career fulfillment. You might feel skeptical because previous attempts at self-discovery didn't lead to immediate external changes. What makes this different isn't the technique of reflection itself, but the focus on gentle alignment rather than forced transformation. Sarah, whom I mentioned earlier, had tried meditation, journaling, and career coaching before discovering the power of simple morning listening. The difference wasn't in finding a new method, but in releasing the pressure for immediate results and instead cultivating patient awareness of her authentic professional nature. The external changes followed naturally once the internal alignment was established.
Gentle Concern 4. What if I don't have the discipline for daily practice? This concern itself reveals something beautiful. You're more self-aware than most people about the challenges of consistency. This awareness is actually your greatest asset, not a weakness to overcome. Remember, you're not trying to become a different person who has perfect discipline. You're simply creating space for your authentic professional nature to emerge. Some mornings you'll feel drawn to the practice, others you won't. Both responses contain wisdom about your relationship with work and authenticity. The question isn't whether you can maintain perfect consistency, but whether you're willing to approach yourself with the same patience and understanding you'd offer a good friend who was navigating career uncertainty. Gentle Concern 4. How do I know this will work for my specific situation? This question contains its own answer. You'll know this path is right not through external validation or guaranteed outcomes, but through the quality of inner alignment you experience when you practice it. You might notice a subtle shift in how Monday mornings feel, or find yourself approaching workplace challenges with more curiosity and less anxiety. These internal changes are more reliable indicators than any external metrics. You'll know you're on the right path when your work begins feeling more like self-expression and less like self-sacrifice, regardless of whether your job title or salary has changed yet. Remember, career fulfillment isn't something you achieve by following the right steps, but something you uncover by aligning with who you already are beneath all the professional conditioning. As we close our time together, I want to leave you with an invitation, not an instruction. Your journey toward authentic career fulfillment doesn't require dramatic action or immediate transformation. It asks for something much more profound: the willingness to listen to your own wisdom about work and contribution. Here's what I invite you to consider. Today, set your phone aside tomorrow morning and spend 5 minutes in quiet stillness before beginning your workday. Don't try to solve anything or plan your career. Simply listen to what emerges when you're not constantly thinking about what you should be doing professionally. This week, Notice moments during work when you feel most authentic and energized. Pay attention to these experiences, not as data to analyze, but as clues about your natural professional gifts. Moving forward, approach your career as a gentle unfolding rather than a problem to solve. Trust that when you consistently align with your authentic nature, the external circumstances will gradually reorganize themselves around your truth. There's no rush. There's no deadline. Career fulfillment will emerge in its own timing when you create the right internal conditions for it to grow. Trust that your authentic professional path is already within you, waiting to be discovered rather than created from scratch. Remember, you don't need to become someone different to experience career satisfaction. You need to remember who you already are beneath all the professional expectations and conditioning. The path is already there, woven into the fabric of your authentic nature. Your only job is to create 5 minutes of morning stillness and listen. Career transformation begins not with changing everything external, but with honoring the wisdom that emerges when you finally stop running long enough to hear your own voice. As you move forward, carry this understanding with you. Authentic career fulfillment is not a destination you reach, but a quality of presence you bring to whatever work life offers you. Thank you for allowing me to share this journey with you. May you find work that feels like worship, and may your professional path be an expression of your deepest gifts. The world needs what you have to offer when you're living from your authentic professional nature. Trust the process, trust the quiet voice of your morning reflection, and trust that your career can become a beautiful expression of who you truly are. Here's to your gentle transformation and the quiet wisdom that guides you home to your authentic professional self.